You're listening to the Talkbox Show. You're listening to the Talkbox. Let's talk about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah, you're listening to the Talkbox Show. You're listening to the Talkbox. Let's talk about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Rise and shine, you guys. It is so good to have you back here on the Talk Box. I'm your girl, Sonja, and today we have a great show for you. We have Mr. Dimitri Carter. He's a husband, a father of two, an entrepreneur, former police officer, former teacher, but most importantly, he is a child of the King. And so today's episode is God Did. So I need you guys to go ahead and type welcome as we welcome Mr. Carter to the Talkbox Show. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Miss Sonja. I appreciate the invite so much. Thank you so much.
Well, it is just good to have you here on today, Dimitri, and I've heard bits and pieces of your story, and I just want to know, when you think God did ... what did God do for you?
Well, it would be easy to say God did and just stop right there. He's still doing.
Yes.
He's still working and doing what he does. Something that's beyond anything that I could ever imagine. And we had an opportunity to speak last week in regards to my story, and something that changed my life on October the 10th of 2022, and that involved a major crash. But something that I've realized is that through pain, God can go ahead and drive us and push us towards our purpose.
Yes.
And this right here is allowing me the opportunity to be able to do that. And I just want to be able to walk and witness and hopefully encourage others through the journey that God is taking me on, because this is still fresh.
Yeah.
The crash only happened 7 months ago. And I can just kind of give you an idea as far as what happened to it leading up to the crash. But I have a business, WGN Logistics, and we have contracts with furniture companies. So at that time, I was working on one of my trucks myself, and I had one of my employees with me, and I was in the passenger seat. Well, we had just loaded our truck up, and we were getting ready to head out for the day. And I'm looking at my phone, basically getting our run and everything situated as far as all of the orders that we have to go do. And as I was doing that, we ended up getting involved in a crash, and we ran into the rear of an 18-wheeler.
Oh, wow.
When we ran into the rear of the 18-wheeler, the engine was pushed up so far into the cab of the truck that it pinned me in. And I was trapped behind the engine for about an hour or so.
Oh, God.
Emergency personnel, my business partner actually rolled up to the scene, and he called the 911, and they ended up coming out and pretty much working on me on the scene. And basically, they did what they could do to save my life. And I'm extremely grateful. But I was conscious the entire time, and it was just one of those deals where I'm listening to them talk, and I'm really kind of disheveled as far as everything taking place, and I'm just spitting out blood because I had a number of injuries, and I kind of go into detail in regards to what took place with those injuries. But they ended up finally getting me and pulling me out of the vehicle.
Did they have to use the jaws of life to get you out?
Yes, they had to use all type of different equipment. They had to tie several different tourniquets on my right leg because of the amount of blood loss that was taking place at the time.
Right.
And
So what injuries did you have?
Oh, the injuries, I ended up having bleeding on the brain. I had to have facial reconstructive surgery. Had several fractures within my face.
Oh, wow.
Had ribs broken on both sides. Had acute kidney failure. Also had bruised lungs. Had 2 compression fractures in my spine. And I fractured both of my legs. My left leg, they had to place a rod in it. As far as basically drilling the hole down through and placing a rod to connect those 2 pieces, and then placing those screws. And then for my right leg, they ended up having to actually amputate, because as they were removing me from the vehicle, because I was pinned so much, they partially amputated my foot on the scene.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because my wife, she ended up telling me, because she arrived on the scene, since it took so long for them to get me out, she heard me scream in a way she had never heard me scream before. And later found out it was because they had partially amputated my foot as they were pulling me out.
They was
because
pulling you out.
It was trapped, behind the engine. And they ended up placing me on a gurney, took me to an ambulance, and took me to Life Flight, which was staged like a couple of streets over. And they took me over to the hospital over to Vanderbilt, and I was there on life support for a couple of days. And I was extremely fortunate because I had a number of prayer warriors that were in my corner during this time. And I like to share the story about my wife when she was on this at the hospital. When she ended up arriving, and after she was finally able to, figure out where I was and all of that stuff, because, when you go on the trauma unit, they don't necessarily release the name of the individuals in the trauma unit. So she ended up speaking with the nurse, and they ended up going through the list of injuries, and had some other individuals that were at the church that were there as well. And they pretty much just ended up praying and going boldly before God on my behalf.
Yeah.
And they pretty much stood in the gap for me. And the nurses, they ended up basically explaining all of that and telling my wife and all of my family and friends what was going on. And one person in particular, a friend of ours, Adrian, he ended up saying, "Hey, God, we're going to you boldly. He can't have a messed up back and a messed up foot."
All right.
So we're not going to just accept that. We're just going to allow him to, remove one of them. And the thing is, they ended up updating later on and basically letting them know, hey, the bleeding on the brain has stopped.
Right.
The compression fractures in his back, they're eventually going to heal. It's just going to take some time, but he's going to be forced to rest with his legs. So
I think as I'm listening to you, I think sometimes we forget that even through tragedy, it's a process, number one. But it is important for us to call upon Jehovah Rapha, the God that heals, the God that has never lost a patient. But know at the time that it is a process and we're gonna go through, but we can still go boldly. That's what I'm hearing. Go boldly, like your friend Adrian said. He can't have a messed up back and a messed up foot. And sometimes in the wake of things, we forget that God's word says that he cares for us. Cast our cares upon him, for he cares for us. And so he is concerned about even the small things, not just medically, but in every aspect of our lives. He says in his word that if he takes care of the little bitty bird, or the little bitty sparrow, how much more will he take care of you and I? And so I'm blown away by your story.
Well, and the thing is, my wife, before that update though, she ended up actually, after the nurse had given her the laundry list of things that were going on, she ended up saying, "Hey, is that it?" She said, "Is that it?" And the lady looked like, "What you mean?" "Okay, I just told you that your husband has bleeding on the brain. He's gonna have to have his leg amputated. His back is broken." And she's like, "That's it." And after the lady confirmed that was all, my wife, she just dropped straight down to her knees and started praying.
Yeah.
And
prayer still works.
Yes, it does.
Prayer works.
And the thing is, before all of that had taken place, my wife and I, we weren't in the best position.
Okay.
And what I mean is, we were arguing over some simple things.
Yeah.
As far as like laundry being done, and you know, upset because I'm busy and she's busy and it's just not getting done. So we mad at one another, and next thing you know, that next morning, I'm going to work like I normally would, feeling like I'm gonna come home as I should, you know, on a typical day. But that wasn't the case. And that ended up changing and altering a number of things as well, because now my perspective is I cannot leave my house in that manner.
Right.
With those emotions, the way that they were between me and her. So we have to make sure that we're settled and everything's okay. Everything might not be great,
but it needs to be okay.
Yes.
And this something that we say here, you know, every day above ground is a good day.
Right.
And it's a day for us to get some things right that we didn't have quite right on yesterday. But I say this even about things that have happened in my life and what you've gone through. I think that we have an advantage. We have an advantage when we go through major trauma, because we get in a hurry to get it right, and where others may take life for granted. And we have to learn to appreciate one another and appreciate life, because it can be gone in an instant.
Yes, and the thing is, we can easily overlook it and take for granted the breath that we just had.
Yeah.
And that's something now that I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do that and waste what it is that God has given me the opportunity with, because that right there is it's huge. It's huge, and it can easily be just trampled over or not thought of.
Well, the truth of the matter is this, that God did. He did it for you. He was the one that healed you. And to know that your family and your friends and church members was also a part of that, by praying. See, a lot of times we are allowed to go through things not for ourselves, but for others, so that other folk can see that prayer does work. When they count you out and they discard you, but God can come in and do anything but fail. So that's something that I get excited about in my life, because he keep on doing it for me. He keep on turning things around. He keep on making my way solid. He keeps on allowing me to see miracles and wonders here on this side of eternity. So I'm so thankful for you being a visual aid of what God can do. And I want to ask you something else too. So I remember when we were talking, you said that you woke up and your leg was amputated, and that makes me tap into what do we do when we wake up and things aren't like we want them to be. Things, we went to bed on top of the world, and then we wake up and the world is on top of us. So how did you deal with the amputation of your leg, since you didn't have a notice that was going to happen?
There was no proper warning. I don't know if there's ever a good way to notify someone that their leg has been amputated. Okay, I don't know if that's possible whatsoever, but when we ended up, I woke up and there was a nurse that just happened to be bedside at the time. And excuse me, I ended up asking, I said, what's going on? What's happened? And she just said, we had to take your leg, and just kept on casually walking by. My wife, she had pleaded with the nurses, every single one of them on staff, please don't notify him as far as his amputation until I'm here. Right. At least let me be present, because I know my husband. For support. Yes, for support. But after I got that notification, it was just really simple, like, oh my God. okay, I've lost my leg, but at the same time, I haven't lost my life. I've lost my leg, but I haven't lost my life. I still have breath in my body.
Right.
And what truly saved me and benefited me was after they ended up giving me my own room. Because it was at that moment once I really, for the first time, tried to stand up, because I had to have assistance pretty much to use the restroom. And I had one nurse hold me up in the front, and then another one had to wipe my tail.
Right.
And that right there was, it was so embarrassing. It was something for me as an individual. I've always, prided myself on being able to take care of myself, and I'm athletic and all of this and everything else. I'm a strong man. And in this moment, I'm at my weakest and I can't even wipe myself.
Yeah.
And I started to cry. I broke down. And I'm sitting on the side of the bed crying, and the nurse, I couldn't have asked for another person to be there at the right time. And he was, and he told me, he said, hey, considering all of the injuries that you sustained, he said, pick one of several of the injuries that you sustained, and it would have killed a normal man.
Right.
You've made it through the hardest part.
Yeah.
Give yourself some credit. And
give yourself some credit.
Yes.
Now that y'all need to write in the comments. Give yourself some credit.
Give yourself some credit, because you've made it through the hardest part. And I still had my right frame of mind.
Yes.
And from that point on, I said, okay, well,
That's
I've lost my leg.
even after the brain bleed.
Yes, because after the update, after my wife dropped down to her knees, after they ended up going boldly to the throne on my behalf, they came back with an update that said, hey, the bleeding on the brain has stopped. The compressions fractures we aren't concerned about. They're going to heal over time. Just be patient. And everything else, as far as the bruised lungs, kidneys, everything else, we're going to monitor it, but it should be just fine.
Right.
But the bleeding on the brain has stopped. We're not going to have to do any type of surgery. We aren't going to have to do anything extra. But unfortunately, we will have to take this leg. And I'm having to learn how to walk again. And
you walked in pretty well today.
Thank you. And I take pride in these steps.
Yes.
Now. But it's also the walk for me and myself, and how it is that I carry myself on a daily, how I maneuver, because I'm not the same individual that I was before that crash.
Right.
I'm hoping that I'm becoming better every single day. And one of my fraternity brothers, he ended up telling me a while ago, long before the crash, and it stuck with me. He said, every single day, strive to get 1% better. He said, 1% every single day. He said, some days you may end up getting 5%. Some days you may get 10%. Some days you may just get 1. But the thing is, over time, it compounds.
Yes.
And it'll gain traction.
You gotta keep striving.
Exactly.
Just keep striving.
That's what my goal was. Let me get a little bit better every single day.
Right.
And that's what I've been doing. And God has been blessing me as a result of it. And now it's getting to the point where I just want to be able to witness and testify and share based off of what it is that He's done and is doing.
Right.
For me, for others, to encourage them, to let them know, hey, what it is that you're facing, it's okay.
Right.
You will make it through. This too shall pass.
Right. I always say here on the Talkbox, we tell them, push past your pain, your pressure, your problems, and pursue the prize. And the prize is abundant living. It don't matter what your circumstances or what your issues are. We can still have abundant living, because that's what God promised us and gave us authority to live. So God did that for you. And I can just appreciate not only your family for praying, your friends, but for you and your attitude. See, I think that a lot of people don't understand that gratitude and attitude will take you a long way.
Yes.
I know some folk who done lost some things, not just limbs, but you lost some people, so you're bitter. You lost some limbs, but I'm reminded of the story that says I was complaining about my shoes until I saw somebody who didn't have any feet. So, but gratitude and your attitude will take you a long way. And when we think about it, if we will learn how to operate looking at the glass being half full instead of half empty, because a lot of times it's not what happened to you. Yes, you was in a big wreck and this, that, and the other, but it's about how you react and how you respond to what happened to you.
Exactly. And that's one of the things, my attitude, it changed in that moment when the nurse was bedside and told me what he told me. And then there was another night that was extremely, extremely painful. During the dialysis, I ended up getting basically, after one of the dialysis treatments, I ended up getting dehydrated. And I could feel my facial fractures. I could feel the ribs broken.
Because you was dehydrated, so it intensified.
And I didn't have any of the medicine because they had pretty much drawn it out in the dialysis treatment.
Exactly.
And I was just hurting. I was hurting. And it was 3:00 in the morning. My wife, she's laying next to me. And I'm crying and I'm feeling all of this pain all at one time. And I told her, I said, hey, call my frat brother. Call Cricket. He's my line brother. I said, call him. And she was like, oh, are you sure? I said, please just call him. And I called him. I said, hey, I need some encouragement.
Right.
And you can give it to me in a poem, a song, or whatever.
Tap dance, do whatever.
However you need to do it, but I need some encouragement.
Right.
And he ended up encouraging me through some songs and through some poems and basically let me know that it was gonna be okay. But before we hung up, he reminded me of something that ended up basically changing my mindset, and it's gonna basically hit on what you were talking about. He said, remember, you are facing what other men have met. And I said, man, if that's the case, I'm gonna make it look good.
Right.
So I'm gonna make it look good because God has spared me. He's given me the opportunity to go ahead and still have breath in my body. He's given me the opportunity to still have a sound mind, even though I'm restricted as far as some of my movements and limited or whatnot. But there's still more power in me than there is limitation.
Yeah.
So I've been extremely blessed and fortunate to have these individuals around me that over time have blessed me with encouragement and have been my friend that lifted me up to help me have the right set as far as a mind frame to go into it positively, because pretty much like you said, it's not what it is that happens to you, it's how you react and your response to what happens.
Well, I want to touch for a moment about the pain. The pain brings about purpose. You know, everything that God did for us was designed with purpose. And the pain is a reminder that you're still here. Sometimes even in our everyday walk, not necessarily in tragic moments, but when somebody hurt your feelings, or when you walk through something, you get disappointed. You have shattered expectations, and folk let you down. The ability to feel is there as an indicator that you're still here, though.
Yes.
So I want to talk to someone in the audience who might be going through some pain today. If you're going through pain, you have to remember to just push past all of the pain and pursue the prize. And you have the ability to have an abundant life regardless of your situation or your circumstance. I want to encourage people to look at Demetri Carter today and let him be your visual aid that things is going to get better for you. Let me be your visual aid if you're struggling with addiction, that it can get better for you. Let us be your visual aid that we didn't have to die in our mess. I'm thinking about even when you were a police officer, there's a lot of police that's getting gunned down as well, but you're still here. But the pain that you're going through is just an indicator that you got another chance and a choice to do some things different. I don't know about you, but I'm telling you, God just continues to do over and beyond what we ever ask or think. And Jeremiah 29:11 tells me, tells you, tells everybody that's on the talk box today, that God has a plan for us. A plan to prosper us, not to harm us. Plans of a hope and a future. And even with your wreck, Romans 8:28, I can see standing tall that says all things are gonna work out for your good, who have been called according to his purpose. So even though the enemy means it for your bad, God meant it for your good. The enemy tried to take you out, but God made death behave. The enemy wanted you in bondage. Even I know I'm gonna mess him up when he wake up and his leg is gone, but he got fooled on that day, because God had already sent you an angel to be by your bedside in the wake of the nurse, telling you to look at this thing a little different. Your glass is not half empty, your glass is half full. So I'm just
I just continue to receive nuggets and blessings like that, because my wife just about 3 weeks ago, she ended up blessing me and she had no clue, because she ended up sharing with me how she was taking swimming lessons, and they ended up putting them in the deep end of the pool, and she didn't know how to swim, but she could tread water. And the thing is, as she was treading water, she noticed that she started to move, and she wasn't in the deep end anymore, and she could actually get her footing. Sometimes when it's a lot deeper than we ever expect it could be, all we need to do is be able to tread until we can get our footing.
Oh, wow. All right, you guys. I tell you what, I hope and pray that something have been said today to help you along life's journey. And as Dimitri just said, you don't have to always know how to swim in your situation, but just learn how to tread, because God is there for you. He says that he is Jehovah Jireh, the God that provides. So I want to thank you for being with us on today. I want to encourage you to make sure that you're liking the post. Make sure that you're commenting when you come on. We'd love to know who you are in the audience. And make sure you subscribe to the Talkbox YouTube channel. So it's been a blessed day and episode. So we will see you again tomorrow, same time, same place, 8 a.m. And remember, God did.